Folks, this is Book Talk with Corbin. I'm your host, and we have a returning guest, Pastor Cecil Blye. He is, brother's been with me a couple of times. In fact, if you go to my website, booktalkwithcorbin.com, you'll see two prior interviews. One of them is about fatherhood and life, etc. Very powerful brother here in Louisville. He is the founder of the school More Grace Christian Academy. And I really wanted to bring him on and talk about that because I'm hearing about more and more churches, not a lot, but more and more churches talking about starting their own schools because they're not too happy with the public school system, and other folks doing more, I think more this year than what I've ever heard in prior years. People are talking about homeschooling because of critical race theory and some other issues with the Board of Education. Brother, thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it. Brother, let's just get straight into it. More Grace Christian Academy. Why did you feel a need to start that school?
You know what happened? I was approached by multiple families in our church, and they requested that we start a school. We had a school, and we had stopped it some years ago because it ended up being a situation where instead of school being self-supportive, the church was supporting the school financially to a large degree. We were paying for things from the church side instead of from the school side. And so we stopped at that point. We had 50 students, and we went from preschool daycare slash daycare to 12th grade. We stopped, and I was fine with that. I had no desire to begin that again. It was something that was challenging when we did that, but I was approached by multiple families at the same time saying, please, can we start the school back because we are dissatisfied with the public school situation for three reasons. Number one, they said was because they felt like their children were not learning as much as they could because they were being promoted and passed according to age and not according to knowledge. So that even though they may not have had a full grasp of things, they were in a school year, they were still passed to the next grade, and there was not time to give their children the attention that was needed to catch them up and make sure they had a good foundation. And then second of all, they were concerned about the COVID situation because their children had been in school for a year, learning on tablets, long distance learning, and had not learned anything. Basically, it was a wasted year. And then third, with the new with the new plans to have men who think they're women and women who think they're men to share locker rooms and bathrooms. These parents told me that they were very uncomfortable with that. And these were Black parents. These are Black parents saying this. And your audience may not realize this, but the highest level of increase in desire for homeschooling and private education is coming from the Black community. And in fact, people who are historically Democrats and historically liberals are now crying out for privatization, private education, vouchers. This is something that's quite a movement now. But those three reasons, because parents told me that they wanted their kids to be in a private school setting because of the COVID situation, that they have had a wasted year. Number two, because they were just being passed and weren't really learning much in spite of, prior to COVID. And then number three, because of the situation where men who think they're women get to share a locker room and bathroom space with their daughters. They felt like, Pastor, we would like to have have you start the school back. And also they told me, and this was the kicker, they told me, Pastor, if you feel like the Lord does not want you to, we're going to go ahead and do it anyway amongst ourselves and co-op. But the thing is that they all work full time. And so I believe that as a shepherd, I needed to make the effort and create an environment where we could go ahead and start the school because they all work full time. And I knew that they didn't have time to do what they were trying to do. And I told them, well, all right, we're going to look to do that. And we prayed, and we got we got a tuition base that we think is reasonable. And we did like the Lord told the 10 lepers. Jesus was approached by 10 lepers. They could not come near him. They had to holler because leprosy is contagious, but they cried out, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. And Jesus said, go show yourself to the priest. And that's because under the old covenant, under the law, if a leper was cleansed, he had to go show himself to the high priest, and then the priest would declare him clean. And so Jesus said, go show yourself to the priest, which meant if you want to be healed, do what you would do if you're already healed. And so as they went, the Bible says they were healed. So we decided we're just going to go ahead and start the school. And as we go, the Lord's going to send us help, give us resources, and give us strategies, and this school is going to be successful. So that's what we've done.
Yes, yes. This is a Book Talk with Corbin. I'm your host, and we're talking today with Pastor Cecil Blye about his new school, More Grace Christian Academy, and he just articulated to us why he he felt the need, but really wasn't so much as you said that why you felt the need, but you're saying brothers and sisters from your congregation came to you.
Yes, they were the catalyst that drove us to begin this school. It came from the sheep. And so as shepherd, I felt like I needed to create an environment where they felt like their children were being educated in a proper manner. And to have people in your congregation to say, we want our children to have Christian education, well, that's very hard to say no to. And so we said a big yes to that.
Yeah. Is it possible for other folks outside of your congregation to send their children to your school?
Yes. Again, the name is More Grace Christian Academy, and we have not put up anything on a website. We have a church website, but we have not put the school up there. We'll be doing that soon. But they can contact this number, 502-419-6983. That's my cell phone number. And there's a tuition involved. It's $100 a week for one child. If there's more than two children, it's $100 a week for a student, but for families that have more than two people, it never goes over $200. So that means if you have two children, it's going to be $200 a week. But if you have five children, it's still going to be only $200 a week. If you have 10 children, it's going to be $200 a week.
And I can imagine. I mean, I don't think you'd have what some might call a wealthy congregation, or just average working folks. So that $100.
We have people in our congregation from all walks of life, all economic stratums. So we have very wealthy, and we have people, who are challenged. But there's two things. Number one, I talked to the families, and this is something that they said that they could do, and they are doing that. But the families that are in the school, those families are families that someone would not think could do what they're doing, but because it's like the 10 lepers, the Lord's making a way, and so they said we're going to do that, and God's been providing.
Brother, before we talk a little bit more about the school, the philosophy and all, are there certain material contributions that the school could use, or are you okay in that area?
Well, yes. In fact, I'm having a number of meetings with people who want to begin to help our school. There's a group of people who are going to be establishing scholarships, and so there'll be scholarships available. And what I'm looking at is doing full scholarships and partial scholarships, depending upon somebody's economic status. But then, of course, we'll take donations. I have someone who talked to me on the weekend about donating preschool equipment, because we're going to be starting our daycare and preschool as soon as we go through the regulatory requirements. So sure, they can call that number that I've given, and if they want to donate something, that's fine. If they want to help with scholarships and be a contributor, we are a 501c3, and so they'll get tax credit for that. And so if they're gonna be looking for something to give to anyway, might as well give to something that's going to be building Christ and building youth at the same time, it's a very, very good investment to make.
Absolutely, absolutely. Build academics, build academic scholars, and also strong men and young men and women of God and of character.
Yes.
And I wanted to touch upon this one point that you said was brought to you by the parents about not learning. I think you might be aware of some of the dreadful stats the Jefferson County Public Schools put out. They said for 2018, 2019, only 24% of Black youth were on the grade school level were reading proficient. Only 24%.
Yes, and that's one of the points that I am making now in regards to the Black community, because you see, this is a very, very new trend, but it's a trend that is a strong trend, and that is you have Black parents and Black leadership now. Many of them are crying out for vouchers. Vouchers was thought of as something that is a conservative Republican thing, that the conservative Republicans want vouchers, and that they are catering to families who are well off, and people argue, well, those families don't need vouchers. But first of all, that was never true in the first place. But second of all, there's a groundswell from the Black community, from people who have been traditionally Democrats and liberals. For example, Roland Martin. You can't get any more liberal than Roland Martin. You can't get any more Black than Roland Martin. And he and his wife are saying we need vouchers in the Black community because the schools have failed the Black family. And in New York recently, I just read an article. In fact, I was asked to speak at an event in Richmond, Virginia, and I was asked to speak about education. And interestingly enough, I spoke in the former home of Robert E. Lee in Virginia, and I pointed out that in the city of New York, that Black families have been up in arms because of the reading and math statistics, that their children have been doing very, very poorly in reading and in math, and they are crying out for vouchers. And so this is a very, very new. It's a new thing, but it's a strong thing where people who have been traditional Democrats and liberals are saying, we don't care about party labels, we don't care about race. Our kids are not being educated, and it's got to stop.
And brother, I couldn't agree with you more when you say it's got to stop. I mean, it's almost frightening to me, because when, again, going back to those stats that JCPS released, that was just on reading. When you looked at the middle school level, high school level, it didn't get any better. So, this young person's coming out, graduating, probably shouldn't be graduating, probably reading at maybe around a seventh or eighth grade level. What kind of future are we talking about? Yes,
that's right. And I think one of the causes, one of the root causes is, the Bible says that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And how can you impart knowledge and wisdom to youngsters when you're not imparting God and the fear of the Lord to them at the same time? They go together. You can't divorce wet from water. You can't divorce sweet from sugar. You can't divorce God from education. And it used to be back in the 1700s and 1600s that when children learned, they learned by reading the McGuffey Reader that had Bible stories in it, and taught them about Adam's fall and about the redemption of man and about the Christ. And they learned to read and do math in a setting that also taught them the Bible and prayer. And for us to divorce that from education is a self-inflicted wound that can only lead to ignorance and the dumbing down of our population. Yeah. Right now it's legal you could put Harry Potter and a witch on a broomstick on the bulletin board, but if you put the 10 Commandments on the bulletin board, then they will fine the school. They will enjoin the school and require the school to take the 10 Commandments down. The Supreme Court ruled on a Kentucky case. It was a Kentucky case that went to the Supreme Court regarding the 10 Commandments and the United States Supreme Court found that the Kentucky school